Hello everyone, it's Frank again, coming at you with another budget mud truck video. Today we will be removing the Dana 80 out of the white donor truck. For some of you, this may be the first time you see the white truck, so I'll give you a quick recap, although you should probably go watch my other videos to catch up. I bought a Ram 3500 without an engine for $400 to pull out the 1-ton axles from it and put them on the budget mud truck. That's what the white truck is for. As you can see, the white truck no longer has a bed, and that's because I already sold it off, making back most of the money I paid for the white truck in general. First thing to do is remove the drive shaft. This can get a little tricky sometimes since it has such small little bolts that are very easy to mess up the heads on. So I sprayed some penetrating fluid on it. After letting it sit for a while, I tapped in a socket with a hammer and then slowly pulled it out with the impact. The next bolt was at a bit of a bad angle, so I couldn't really fit in the socket, so I had to lift up the axle. That way I can turn the wheels, that way I can spin the drive shaft, which would allow me to put the socket onto the bolt. Once that was done, it was basically just repeating the process for the other two bolts. A little crowbar to break it loose. Then I very gently, with a lot of finesse, pull out the drive shaft from the transfer case. At this point, I had to jack up the rear and hold it up from the chassis with jack stands, that way the wheels weren't touching the ground and were completely floating. My first attempt was unsuccessful because I set the jack stands too low, so I had to raise it up even more, raise the jack stands up more, and then drop it again. After that, I began working on removing the leaf springs. Unfortunately, I had the camera off for the first bit I did. Off camera, I removed the nut and pushed out the bolt with a punch. Only problem is, I got the punch stuck in the hole. Removing the bolt that holds the shock in place. Then it was time to remove the front bolt from the leaf spring. Very similar to what I did in the rear. Took off the nut, then pushed through the bolt with a punch. Once again, the punch got stuck, but this time I jacked up the tires a bit to get some of the tension off to pull the punch out. The sway bar link just has one nut to remove. In order to get the bolt out this time, I ended up jacking it up again to be able to pull it out. Once the sway bar was disconnected, that's it. The right side was completely disconnected from the chassis. So I went on to do the left side as well, off camera, because apparently GoPros do not do well with the South Florida heat. Now, all that's left to do is removing the axle from underneath the chassis, which is not a walk in the park for one person working by themselves, as you will see. After struggling with it for a bit, I decided it was probably best for me to take off the leaf springs. Once the leaves were removed, I was able to roll it out from underneath the chassis. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.